The heart, that vital part of the human body which keeps you alive, beating 72 times per minute, 100,000 times per day, pumps nearly 1.5 million barrels of blood during your lifetime to supply oxygen to the body and circulate sugars that keep your brain active. Mulago National Referral Hospital, a sprawling complex comprising various specialized medical facilities equipped and staffed to handle many complicated conditions. The Uganda Heart Institute is one such facility here. It is the country's prime cardiac care center that was established in the 1950s when resourcefulness was needed to conduct the first heart surgery in the country.
The first attempt to organize a service for cardiac care was way back in 1958 when Professor Somers, that time, and the team made the first, established the first clinic under Makerere, under the Department of Medicine, dedicated for heart care. The Russian teams and the Israelites somehow working together here, plus Italians. There was actually open heart surgery done here, but under primitive technology, where they used to cool the patient, and then they give the surgeon 20 minutes to close one of, say, the defects.
Just like many facilities that broke down during the 70s and 80s, Uganda Heart Institute, which had been fitted with relatively adequate cardiac equipment, faced a reversal in the 1970s when the first batch of cardiologists fled the country due to insecurity.
Either the Queen of Holland or one of the princesses actually donated a cath lab worth $200,000, and it was installed in one of these places that is within Mulago to help assess patients. And with those facilities, Mulago and Makerere generated the first group of Ugandan doctors who took up training under cardiac services. So we have that group. Examples are people like Professor Maswa, Professor Dabela, Professor Mugerwa, Dr. Zrembuzi, the Batambuzis, the people who graduated around 69 there and things of the sort. But when Amini's issue came, all of that collapsed. All these people who had gone for training ended up staying where they trained. So many people stayed in the UK, in America, and either one or two came back.
It was not until the late 1980s, when the country regained stability, that the specialized medical professionals felt safe to return and revive the service of cardiac care.
And the first attempt to reorganize this service was in 1988, when Mulago Hospital, Makerere University, Ministry of Health, and the Uganda Heart Foundation came together, each one for their own purpose, to put up, to start organizing the establishment of a Uganda or cardiac care, and the name they chose on was the Uganda Heart Institute. So the need was there because the children who were being picked by the clinicians and the children, they had to be sent abroad with the help of Rotarians, and that is how the Uganda Heart Foundation comes into play.
The second generation of cardiac care specialists were then selected and sent abroad for training in preparation for reintroducing the service to the country.
We come back at the end of 1995, starting 1996. We found this semblance had already been formed, and some few equipment had been bought for an echo machine, but there was no theater. So we started in the buildings in Yellow House, in all the Mulago. where we did our first our operations. I remember the first operation was done on 4th of April 1996.
On return, they spearheaded the reintroduction of the much-needed service that could only be sought abroad at a fee, so excessive and out of reach for most Ugandans.
We had to work under Mulago. We had to work with some staff from Makerere University, with some support from Ministry of Health, and groups like Rotarians and groups helping us as we started mobilizing the human resources and other things. So that was the nucleus. Now, between that time and 2001, we were working under that quasi arrangement. Then it got a decision was taken to register the Uganda Heart Institute as a limited company by guarantee. And the guarantors were the four bodies. Makerere is government. Ministry of Health is government. Mulago Hospital is the government, plus Uganda Heart Foundation. Meaning it was an agreement, and those were the guarantors. And we worked under that arrangement and managed to deliver cardiac open heart surgery back to this country on the 27th of October 2007.
Reintroducing cardiac care and surgery required substantial investment in the state-of-the-art equipment to diagnose and treat various types of heart conditions.
Unlike other fields of medicine, to be able to do heart surgery and open heart surgery, you have to stop one's heart for some period of time, ranging from 30 minutes to sometimes even 8-10 hours. And during that, you have to maintain life using top science. So the team, the working environment, and the supplies that you need to maintain that at that international level is what took us long to piece up.
A solution had to be found. Manageable fee was introduced to make it possible for patients to access the service.
One thing which made it work is that we were given a leeway to enable patients or to allow patients to contribute towards these services. And using that small money is what helped us to generate more and more people, to pay them better and keep the people that we have trained to stay within the country. A decision now was taken by government to support the Heart Institute fully. We were given a voting status because we could not do what we do in the mainstream general medical system. If you wanted to procure equipment, if you wanted to procure supplies, you could not get them through the normal procurement system because they are so highly specified, that high science, which you can't get on the local market. And because we are just starters, you could not buy them in big quantities. So the economies of scale. So buying through the system, we couldn't. We failed.
And now, Ugandan cardiologists and surgeons have proven that it is possible to offer world-class surgery at a center that is comparable to any other facility worldwide.
Any illness of the heart, whether it is by way of a rhythm problem, whether it is what they call heart failure, whether it is a congenital, a hole in it, or a narrowing, or any other defect that a child is born with, or even gets along the way, the Heart Institute now has capacity to handle the diagnosis to the top accuracy as compared to any other center in 95% of the cases. Meaning that we literally have no reason as a country to send a child abroad for diagnosis. No.
Dr. Michael Okecho is one of the consultant cardiologist surgeons. With over 10 years under his belt at the Uganda Heart Institute, Okecho has professionally put this wealth of experience to use to save many lives who would have otherwise died from even the simplest condition.
We basically do all the closed heart surgeries, what we call closed. Closed are those that you do without opening into the heart. The heart is beating and the blood is not diverted in any way. We do the closed heart surgeries. The closed heart surgeries are mainly three groups. The pediatric, congenital, those are conditions someone is born with. In Africa and in much of the third world, we have a big problem with an infectious form of heart disease. It's called rheumatic heart disease, which destroys or damages the heart valves. There are other diseases which affect the function of the heart valves. So valve surgery is being done here, pediatric surgery is being done here. And then the other group would be the coronary artery bypass surgery, which is bypassing blocked vessels which supply the heart.
This morning, Dr. Okecho is leading a team of cardiologists, together with support professionals, in carrying out a closed heart operation on a 10-year-old boy who was born with narrow arteries. This is one of the common conditions handled here. The Uganda Heart Institute's operating theatre is furnished with state-of-the-art equipment to facilitate the surgeons in sorting out some of the complicated cases. This setup is supplemented with additional amenities to facilitate in handling even more complex cases, such as open heart surgeries.
To perform an open heart surgery, you need more than an operating theatre. You need a good hospital setup, fully functional. Okay? So you need a good intensive care unit. This is where your patient is going to go after the surgery. And this phase of the care of the patient is even more critical in many ways than the operative stage. You need a good laboratory that will give you dependable results on time. You need good diagnostic facilities before the surgery can take place, because you need to make an accurate diagnosis for you to be able to help the patient. The open heart surgery means you open into the heart. The heart is a hollow organ with chambers, with connections between the chambers. It is filled with blood and it is beating. Okay? So you cannot work on a heart which is full of blood, which is beating, because blood would be all over the place. And then the function of the heart would not be taken care of. So open heart surgery involves stopping the heart. Okay. The heart becomes still. And it is protected in that state. You protect it in its still state. And the blood is diverted away from the heart into a machine called a heart-lung machine. This machine performs the function of the heart and of the lungs. So you have a still and empty heart. And then you can go in and correct the problems there. And thereafter, the blood is diverted back to the heart. The heart is allowed to beat again, and slowly the patient is disconnected from the heart-lung machine.
This is the clinical laboratory. It is here that correct diagnostics must be done before a successful heart operation is done. It is also vital for monitoring patients during recovery.
About 60 to 80% of the decisions which are made in managing patients actually are guided by lab. So in most cases when patients are seen, because they may not be sure about the problem which patients actually are having, they normally tend to take off specimens which they send to the lab. Then based on the results which you have offered, it guides them to now know probably what the problem could be. So in most cases when some patients normally have some conditions, they take off blood to determine how their clotting factors are. And here, one of the tests that we normally do is PT-INR. That's actually prothrombin time together with INR. This is one of the machines which handles the hormonal tests, like the thyroid function test. There's a gland actually which normally controls the metabolic processes within the body system. And when some drugs are normally given, they tend to affect the way the heartbeat actually can work. So in this one of the tests which we normally do here are third function tests, which we normally do. We have tests like a TSH, tests like a T3, and then tests like a T4. Under tumor markers, we have tests which we routinely do here is PSA, that's for prostate cancer. So this is one of the newly acquired machines, and one of the newest versions, which is also under Siemens. So it does both the cardiac markers, liver function tests, renal functional tests, including other individual tests like glucose, the uric acid, rheumatoid factor, which actually are used for assessing different disease conditions. This one actually also is another machine which acts in the sense that it helps actually diagnose and that's actually a test what we refer to as ESR. It's a test which normally is used to diagnose some conditions which are related to inflammation within the body system. So if at all there is an infection in the body system, there are certain actually markers which are normally tested to see the degree of destruction within the blood system, which conforms to the level of cell breakdown.
The cardiocatheterization lab, another complex facility that goes beyond diagnostics to interventions. A number of heart conditions can be treated successfully here, and those that need more intricate procedures can be ascertained before plans for further surgery.
So the cath lab is a complex facility that enables one to visualize the heart. It is both diagnostic, meaning you can use it to make diagnosis, but it is also used for treatment, intervention. You can use it for closing holes, for unblocking blood vessels which are blocked. And this is where you hear someone had like a pinhole procedure to correct a condition in the heart.
Patients who have narrow valves, you can widen them, you can repair them, you can replace them. These patients who have heart attack, blocked vessels, if you cannot widen them by way of the cath lab, then all of those ones cross over to the operating theater.
After the catheterization lab, patients that require more complex procedures like a heart bypass operation are booked a slot in the main operating theater.
Right now, the team is there in the facilities to do the bypass surgeries for patients whose coronary blood vessels, that is the blood vessels to the heart itself, have blocked. If it is a narrowing and it has formed a plaque, something which is harder, we can go in the cath lab and widen that area. And if we widen, we can even suck out the clot or that area, and we leave it open. To maintain it open, we put in a loop. Should it fail at that point, then we cross over to the theater. And in the theater, what we do is, now that is open, the patient is anesthetized, we open the chest and get to the heart. Now when we get to the heart, we bypass the blood and hand over the person's life to the machines, an artificial heart, an artificial lung.
The Uganda Heart Institute's proven proficiency, as well as the ever-growing waiting list of those who urgently need cardiac surgery, have generated a pressing need for further investment in the healthcare infrastructure.
The point we want the nation to understand, to pick, is this. The Heart Institute has been on a journey to prove that things can be done here in the country. Now when it comes, that one we have achieved. But in terms of widening the volume to accommodate everybody, that is where our cry is. The sets we have is one set of everything, and the demand is far bigger than that.
Given the facility that we have, we are able to do three open heart surgeries a week and about 2 to 3 closed heart surgeries in a week. We are a population of about 40 million. So being able to do 3 open heart surgeries in a week is a drop in the ocean for the population of 40 million. We are the only facility in the whole country. And we actually serve wider than the country. We get patients from Congo, we get patients from South Sudan, from as far as Somalia. So the waiting lists are extremely long, sometimes even up to 1 year.
As the number of patients who require cardiac care continues to increase, the pressing need for ample space to accommodate an independent, fully-fledged specialized cardiac care hospital is top on the list of the Institute's priorities.
And the biggest issue is the home space to be able to operate more patients. So we have designed a fully-fledged hospital. It is a 200-bed hospital with 40 ICU beds, with 3 operating theaters, with 2 extra cath labs. That one will bridge the country as we encourage the private sector to also come in.
Expanded facilities will relieve the burden from many patients whose lives are changed with the birth of a child with a heart defect. They would also give the children born with heart conditions an equal chance in life, which would otherwise be emotionally and financially costly to them, their parents, and the health sector.
1% of all babies born have a factory error and called heart disease. So, as a nation, we have about 40 million. Annual growth rate is 3%. It increases by way of birth. So we are delivering 1.6 million babies per year. 1% of those ones is 16,000 babies are born. It is our job to catch them. And we are saying the capacity we have should be able to diagnose accurately those children.
The Uganda Heart Institute has already corrected a number of babies born with a condition commonly known as a hole in the heart.
The heart has 4 chambers, and then it has blood vessels leading to it and blood vessels leading out. So there are the first 2 chambers, which are the small chambers. They are called atria. And on the heart we have 2 sides, the left and the right side. The left side pumps blood to the body. The right side pumps blood to the lungs. From the lungs, the blood goes, after receiving oxygen, it goes to the left side, and from the left side, it goes to the rest of the body. In you and I, if we are normal, these 2 systems don't mix. Okay, they flow side by side, but they don't mix. So if you have a hole between the wall separating the 2 ventricles, that is called a ventricular septal defect.
The Institute also plans to build capacity in the area of heart diseases prevention when the proposed hospital is built.
We can now engage the academia, the educational institutions to teach our children the health living, to be able to provide to prevent cardiac heart disease, to be able to prevent rheumatic heart disease, to be able to look at physical exercise.
In the meantime, those that can be accommodated in the current facilities receive top range of services.
The Heart Institute has given the benchmarks. We can now do triple bypass surgeries. We can now close our children's heart defects by device. We can now do electrophysiology studies and use radio frequency waves to treat patients. That is what people are looking for abroad. These services are not in Kenya, they are not in Tanzania, they are not in Zaire, they are not in Sudan here. All that one is potential. So we are placing the institute and the sector in that very advantage, strategic advantage. All we need is strategic investment.
Currently, the Uganda Heart Institute carries out 500 surgeries a year. With the ongoing renovation of Lower Mulago in the National Referral Hospital, it is anticipated to temporarily address the challenge of inadequate space in the meantime. Ugandan doctors are renowned for providing an excellent service in many parts of the world, including many sub-Saharan countries, and are on global demand. But this team of well-trained specialists have chosen to return and work in Uganda, signaling a better future of cardiac care in the country.
Really, the message I want passed on to the public is one, that the biggest investment was to put up a team of that high, very well trained, very well with the right attitudinal orientation to ignite the development of cardiac services in the country. And this team is on ground and it is ready, it is willing, and it is here. They have chosen not to go for greener pastures. They have remained here and they are helping build the number to deliver that. And already the country is seeing the products.
Paul Seryange, a 76-year-old former sportsman, is one of the numerous success stories of the Uganda Heart Institute. First diagnosed with a heart condition in 1983, Seryange survived on medication until 2012 when he was referred to the Uganda Heart Institute. Diagnosis indicated need for urgent surgery to address the condition. In 2016, he had a life-threatening experience due to a narrowed aortic valve, which almost caused him a heart attack.
They looked for the doctor. The doctor immediately attended to me and he gave me some drugs until the next day. That's when they decided that I should be operated. They told me that I need an artificial valve. They said you are going to have either an artificial valve from the pigs or from the cow, or an artificial valve which is metal. I said, whatever, I'm in your hands. Though I can't run now, but I can walk freely without any problem. I don't have any problem whatsoever.
He now encourages everyone to care for their heart by going for a regular checkup.
Because you can think that you are healthy or your heart is okay when it is not. Because the amount which you pay there is very minimal. You pay consultation fee, 20,000. For a new patient, for the file and everything, it is 28,000. And this operation, it was at a fee of 18 million. So you consider 18 million with somebody who has boarded a plane. He goes with a nurse or somebody to look after him, hiring a hotel outside. So you find that it's very expensive.
33-year-old Boaz Mwesigwa is another patient that has successfully undergone open heart surgery at the Heart Institute. He is back at work after only 3 months.
I was born with a hole in my heart. Yeah, the health workers call it a VSD. It's a ventricular septal defect. I knew about it quite early in my life, but I wasn't able to treat it because of the expense. Yeah, I couldn't afford it. And I think earlier before, it wasn't done around, so everyone had to go out. But then the doctors told me that as I grow up, it is going to become worse. I went to Heart Institute after like 3 or 4 months of treating a cough, and then they told me actually there's no cough. The problem is that your lungs are not functioning the way they should. Well, they did an open heart surgery. The aim was to close that hole in the ventricles. I think they did it. I think they did it very well because it helped me. First of all, the cough disappeared, and the sounds that I had in my chest also disappeared.
The Uganda Heart Institute has come a long way since the old days when patients were assessed and referred to hospitals abroad for treatment.